Okay, so adding someone to your team can be very overwhelming. Trust me, I understand. But here are 5 tips that you should keep in mind when hiring a social media manager.
Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Jasmine and I am a social media manager and I help faith-based businesses and service-based businesses. So let me go ahead and share a little bit of some advice that I have for a lot of business owners who are really thinking about hiring a social media manager and what that will look like. So number 1, this is one of the biggest ones, and this is to organize your material. Yes, you need to be organized anytime you hire someone in your team, period, but even more so when it comes to social media manager. One of my huge advice here is to go ahead and organize a lot of your graphics, a lot of your links, and a lot of your sales pages. Like, try to organize as much as you can for them. Now, one of the tools that I recommend all my clients to organize their graphics is Dropbox. Go ahead and use Dropbox where you can organize all of your files. I have a client who's super organized in this area, and she shares some of her files with me through Dropbox, and she has folders for her logos. She has different types of logos. She has another file for her template. She has another file for her mood boards. She has a whole file for her stock photos. She has another file where it's her family pictures and headshots, and it's so organized and it makes graphic designing so much easier. So number 1, please organize your material. Now number 2, have training material for your social media manager. This is so important, especially if you have a team. Now let me go ahead and explain. Now when it comes to me, my onboarding process takes around 4 to 6 days. But the whole training process can take up to the entire month, where we both train each other and we both learn how we can help each other and how we can work together. Now, most of my clients are sole entrepreneurs. What that means is that they're basically wearing all the hats and they are the ones that do everything, and they don't necessarily have a creative team. However, I do have other clients that do have a creative team. They have a full-time graphic designer, copywriter, virtual assistant. So it's very important for me to learn how to work with their team if you do have a creative team. So having training material is so important. For example, when one of my clients shares certain folders with me through the Dropbox, they actually record a training video explaining and going through and navigating all of their folders, so I know exactly what each of those folders are. So it's really important for both of us to have training materials for one another. And one of the resources that I recommend to do this is a platform called Loom, L-O-O-M. This is an amazing platform where you can go ahead and record videos. I actually use the free version because it does just enough for what I need, but I definitely recommend for you to look into Loom if you haven't already. Now the 3rd tip here is to be open-minded. You need to understand that when you're hiring a social media manager, I suggest that you hire someone you trust. If you don't trust them, don't hire them, period. A social media manager is an expert in what they do, so you need to really be open-minded to their feedback. You also need to be open-minded to any tips they have, and really trust the process. Give them time to understand how you work, to start, you know, the whole designing process, creating videos, and have that timeline, and really be open-minded about that transition and adding someone else to your team. And just be really open-minded about any feedback that they have. And it's also vice versa. Me as a social media manager, I'm very open-minded about the clients that I have, because even though a lot of my clients are similar, they have different needs. So I really try to make sure that we both blend in together, and it could take, you know, the whole training process, it could take like an entire month for us to really, you know, have all the systems in place and have like a nice workflow. Also, if you want me to make a YouTube video all about my advice on hiring a social media manager, what things to look out for, any red flags to look out for, what you should pay a social media manager, and things that you should really ask them when you're hiring a social media manager, let me know so I can make that video very soon if you need it. Now let's move on to tip number 4. Be ready to communicate a lot. Yes, communication is super important. I know everyone knows this by now, but it's no different when you're hiring someone to your team. Now, hiring a social media manager is basically like dating. The more you communicate, the stronger the relationship. And it's super important for me to not have any misunderstandings when it comes to my clients. So hopping on video calls, emailing back and forth, sometimes even texting back and forth, depending on how time sensitive the topic is super important, and it is to be expected. Now, one of my advice here is do not hire someone in your team if you are not ready to give them your attention, and if you're not ready to prioritize them as a new team member in your team. Do not hire a social media manager if you are also going on vacation. With one of my recent clients, this actually happened. She was going on vacation, and I didn't know that until later on, but she was very, very overwhelmed. But I made sure that I took care of everything, and everything was set for her so she can leave on vacation. But it did cause her a little bit of a little bit of stress and overwhelm, because she didn't really know I think the work and the training and the communication that comes when adding a social media manager to her team. So that is definitely one of my advice. We both learned from that experience. But do not hire a social media manager if you're just not ready to give them your full attention for at least a couple of days, or for maybe that month on and off, because it's really important for you guys to start strong so the relationship has a very solid foundation to go ahead and work together and accomplish all your goals. Now, the last tip here is to be detailed with what you need, okay? A social media manager should be an expert, and they should be organized already. But if you don't know exactly what you need from a social media manager, it could be confusing. Before you hire a social media manager, my recommendation is to go ahead and make a list of all the things that you need and all the things that you would expect a social media to help you with. Now, this is super important for me because sometimes with some clients we go back and forth about reels and video and editing, and I'm just like, okay, hold up, what exactly do you need from me? And I ask this question multiple times to my clients. I ask them during the clarity call, I ask them during the onboarding process, I ask them to email me a list to have it written down for me to review and always go back to see what they need and what they need to outsource, because the needs for certain clients are different. For example, with one client, they might need me to do some video editing, while with another client, I don't have to do any video editing at all. So those details and those needs need to be communicated, and they need to be processed, because it will also affect the price as well. So making sure that you know exactly what you want a social media manager to do, and just being very detailed with what your needs are, is going to be such a game changer, and is going to really start the relationship in a very nice solid ground. So this is it for the 5 tips that you need to know when hiring a social media manager, and how to prepare when hiring a social media manager. Now, if you guys want to learn a lot more about this, go ahead and sign up for my newsletter, where every week I go ahead and provide so much information, free resources, free trainings, free workshop, free worksheets for my email subscribers, because I spoil them so much, because they well deserve it. And I also have a couple of free resources for you guys. If you guys want a worksheet that can help you guys figure out your niche on social media, go ahead and click on the link in the description box for that free worksheet that you can get. And if you also want to learn how to use Canva for content creation and content planning, I'm going to have that free workshop in the link in the description for you to sign up for. And if you also want to know how much you should be paying a social media manager, and what the value of a social media manager is, and what the ROI of a social media manager looks like, go ahead and sign up for that free training I have also in the link in the description. I know, tons of free resources, but I really love giving back to my community. So also comment down below if you have any questions and any other tips that you may have for other business owners when they are hiring a social media manager. Make sure you follow me on my Instagram at Jasmine Miguel. I will love to connect with you there, and I will love to chat with you through messages. And with that being said, guys, remember to keep on jazzing and stay in touch. Bye.